multiple staff members here today to ensure that the meeting runs smoothly and all applicants and members of the public are able to participate in the meeting at the appropriate times.
If you're here today and would like to speak about a case, please provide your name clearly into the microphone, and please be sure to sign in either at the back of the room or at the podium for documentation purposes. If you're here to speak about a case, you must speak up when the chairperson calls for public comment. I'll go ahead and call the roll. Mr. Causey? Mr. Cohn?
Present.
Mr. Cook?
Present.
Mr. Harp?
Here.
Ms. Thomas? Here. And Mr. Tupper?
Here.
We have quorum.
I'll get a brief overview of the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. The time limit does not include any questions asked by the Planning Commission or staff regarding request. During the public comment period, members of the general public are given an opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. After the public comment period, applicants have 5 minutes to respond. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. Are there any changes to the agenda?
So far, there has been one change to the agenda since publication. Case number 5, which is on the zoning map amendment, case ZMA-2022-0012, which is 951 and 919 True Street, has been deferred. Other than that, the agenda still stands.
Thank you. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public would like to discuss an item on the consent agenda, you must speak up after the consent agenda is read. Then that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items.
And I'll just read through the consent agenda. The first item is the approval of the August 11, 2022 minutes. The next item is under future land use amendment and zoning map amendment for pending annexation. We have case Annex-2022-0020. This is a lot of addresses on Atlantic Drive and Balsam Road. This is a request recommendation to assign land use classification of Urban Edge Residential Large Lot, UER2, and assign zoning of Residential Single Family Medium Lot District, RSF2, at the time of annexation. The property is currently classified as Neighborhood Mixed Residential High Density and zoned RSMD by Richland County. Case number 3, Annex-2022-0021, 79.05 acres on the north side of Percival Road, 4407 Percival Road, and .775 acres on the east side of Newland Road. Request recommendation to assign land use classifications of Urban Edge Residential Small Lot, UER1, Urban Edge Multifamily, pardon me, UEMF, and Urban Edge Community Activity Center, UEAC1, and zone the property Residential Mixed District, RM1, Residential Mixed District 2, and Light Industrial District at the time of annexation. The property is currently classified as Neighborhood Medium Density and zoned M1 by Richland County. Case 4 under the zoning map amendment is ZMA-2022-0012, 2470 Millwood Avenue, 2514 Cherry Street, 2520 Cherry Street, and .05 acres on the west side of Cherry Street. Request to rezone the property from Mixed Use District MU1 and Residential Mixed District RM1 a portion within the Old Shannon Lower Waverly Historic Preservation Overlay to Mixed-Use District, MU1. And that concludes the consent agenda. Let me just click through these slides real quick.
Is there anyone from the Planning Commission or public that would like any item removed from the consent agenda? Ma'am, would you? I'm sorry. Would you mind giving your name and letting us know which one?
I was issue 4, number 4. My name is Vivian Clark Armstead. I'm president of the MLK Lower Waverly Neighborhood Association. And we're here to protest the changing of the zoning of our community from a residential to residential mix to commercial based on the neighborhood and the historic preservation of our neighborhood and the zoning of having commercial properties and businesses come into a neighborhood that is a residential historical neighborhood, MLK Lower Waverly.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the commission that has any questions?
I guess if we can just get a motion to remove that from the consent agenda.
Sure. I'll entertain a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll remove 4 for the regular agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just need a motion to, you can sit down for just a second. We'll need to just approve the consent agenda minus that item, and then we can move on to that case.
Could I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Do we need to clarify
Yeah.
that being off?
Yeah, it'd be a good idea to just clarify minus item number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items 4 ZMA 2022-0012.
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Let me just click back to it since we're gonna, okay.
Okay, I'll just do a quick presentation of the item in question here. It's a zoning map amendment request, and it's a request to rezone the property from mixed-use district, MU1, and residential mixed district, RM1, and a portion within the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Historic Preservation Overlay to mixed-use district, MU1. And so you can see on the map here, those are the parcels in question. And the parcel fronting on Millwood, that lot is actually already MU1, so it would be the remaining 3 that are being requested to go to MU1 from RM1. The applicant has, these lots were combined, they have been combined into one lot previously before the zoning request came in, but the GIS is not showing that yet. So that's why the TMS numbers were listed separately. So just moving on to the staff recommendation. Staff finds that the proposed zoning is consistent with the future land use classifications in the Columbia Compass Plan because all parcels included in the rezoning request are to the rear of the lots facing Green Street within the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Historic Neighborhood and are adjacent to commercial properties on the Millwood corridor, the requested zoning change will not have a negative impact on the residential neighborhood. So staff finds that a recommendation to approve is appropriate here. Thank you.
You'll have time to speak. Does anyone have any questions for staff?
I do. So you're saying that there are other properties in the same area that are already zoned for,
So currently, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if you look at the map, the properties in purple are MU1 currently. And so you can see the parcel that fronts Millwood, like I said, that one is currently already MU1. And the lots, the 4 lots that are highlighted there actually have been combined. It's not reflected on the map because it hasn't been updated by GIS. But the owner did combine those parcels are combined.
There is the applicant here?
Yes.
Would you like to- Go ahead, if you have questions.
Is there a current use for what's there right now, I guess?
So on the parcel
what is the
that's on the already MU1, the purple there, there's an old, I believe, like a warehouse building there. So the other, like coming down towards Green Street, those parcels, I believe are currently, well, it's all the same parcel actually now, but there's no buildings on those parcels.
But that building's vacant, for what we know.
I believe there may be 1 or 2 tenants in there currently.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure of the status of that.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I know it's kind of been off and on with, and the applicant might be able to shed more light on that.
Okay. Thank you.
I think I have one more question. How long has it been combined as one parcel?
I would say several months.
So it's recent.
I'm not sure in the delay, the mapping delay, why that is, because it's been recorded, the plat has been recorded. I don't have the exact date, but I would say in the last several months.
Does anyone have any additional questions? Staff? So we can, if the applicant's here and would like to speak on behalf of this, you can come to the podium.
Thank you. My name is Jason Corsi. I'm the owner of that 2470 Millwood parcel that we're speaking about. Yes, it has been combined, within the last 6 months. It's been, I guess the GIS is not updated. And I've talked to a couple different people that live around the neighborhood. One is Thomas Allen at 2480 Millwood Ave. Another was Elvina Harrison at 2513 Green Street, which butts up to the southeast corner of the property. Joe Green over at 928 Short Street, which butts up to the western part of the property. And, Thomas Allen was to the right on Millwood. As was mentioned, it's the MU zoning, and this is really the interior portion of this does not butt up on Green Street, that we're trying to just make it one contiguous parcel, which it is. But really, there's no, as far as plans, I know there's been 2 issues. There's been some tractor trailers there, unfortunately, had some bad tenants, and they parked those there. I went by today, they're still there, unfortunately. They're either going to move those this weekend. I know that's been an issue. These three people that I spoke with did not have an issue with the rezoning. I asked, hey, just as a, respect and courtesy to y'all, can we get any feedback? And they didn't have any issues with it. But the big thing was those tractor trailers. I actually talked to my neighbor who's got a CDL license, and he's willing to come at no charge with myself to move those trailers. The reason they didn't move the tractor trailers, they said, is they didn't have a guy that was a CDL-approved driver, so they didn't want to do it. But they do have a yard off at Highway 20 near the Flying J that they want to move those trailers. The other question was, what are the plans for the property, the MU1 zoning? As of now, my goal is just get rid of the bad tenants, get rid of the tractor trailers, leave it open, cut the lawn, and do nothing with it. If and when in the future, I know if we sold the property, it would carry to the next person. The only thing I could think of was the warehouse there. It's got an angle to it. Could potentially build off the side. There's really no plans. There's no budget for it right now. What that would be, just put a couple offices or whatever abides by the MU1 zoning, and of course go through civil engineer and go through the process, site plan review, that type of thing. So that's really the goal. But of course, didn't want to make anybody mad or offend anybody. We just wanted to basically clean it up, move the trailers. I can see how residents would not want the tractor trailers. I didn't want the tractor trailers. I've been fighting with these gentlemen to get rid of them for months. Unfortunately, I don't have a CDL. I can't move it. But again, my neighbor does. I'm happy to provide proof of that, and take pictures or whatever is requested. So I'm open for questions or discussion. Thank you.
So are those trailers, just prior from former tenants?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So to be clear, you are trying to change it to MU1 to clear those tenants?
Those tenants, they had a lease that expired August 31st. It's now 1 week past it. They know, they're aware of that. I've been in communication with the Columbia about that. I'm doing the best I can to get rid of them. They know there's no release. I've actually provided a letter that's to them that said, we will not renew your lease. That's the goal, is to get them out of there, to remove them. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And if I could just clarify, that's part of an enforcement action that zoning is taking place within the zoning department with the applicant here. So that's a separate process, but that is being handled.
Okay.
Thanks.
And my goal is to comply 100% with that action.
Anyone have any other further questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this? And is there? Yes, ma'am.
He spoke to everyone around there in that area concerning the tractor and trailer. I never spoke to anyone around there. And my house is at 2505 Green Street. So that's not true. I hadn't even received a letter. And I definitely want no tractor and trailer outside my house.
Ma'am, would you mind stating your name?
Mrs. Lysa, Roseanne Lysa, Leysath.
And are you neighboring the property?
2505 Green is my
Okay.
house.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Dr. Bambi Gaddis. I live at 904 Oak Street in the lower Waverly, MLK area. I'm not here representing just my husband and I, but I'm here representing my neighbors. I have visuals of what we're discussing here. Several months ago, we spoke with police chief because we were concerned about what we could see was happening there. There were tankers, there are trucks. There's less here yesterday than there are on previous occasions. But on previous days, there have been a full compartment of total trucks. So what I'd like you to visualize is the Baptist church, where that lies directly behind it. You will see it in the visuals. There are homes of my neighbors where they have set up fences, where they have a total obstruction to family and community activities. If you see other pictures, you'll see that it runs, there is a small section that a few individuals may be able to walk through because it's the house and it's the fencing that has been set up. It is a complete visual obstruction. Imagine if that was behind your home. Do I live directly there? No. But it's only a matter of time that if we say nothing about what's impacting our community, that it's going to end up being another lot and another lot. I'm unclear why. What's quite interesting, and I'll end it on this, is that the sign that's on the fencing that discusses the public meeting on the 20th is totally opposite of this meeting that's occurring right now. So my final request is the following: 4 concerns. 1, marking on the zoning committee meeting announcement sign is incorrect, and no steps were taken to correct the meeting date. Number 2, staff found that zoning changes will not have a negative impact on residential neighborhoods. What studies did staff conduct to make this determination? Who was consulted about the change, and was the neighborhood consulted? Number 3, is the proposed rezoning, if it's approved, will that facilitate the rezoning, subsequent removal, or continued gerrymandering of current historic preservation districts that run from Millwood to Hardin and Green to Gervais? And finally, what are the plans for the rezoning portion of the land? Will it impact the quality of life for families that live nearby and the 2 churches that are located nearby? It's our proposition and supposition that that's exactly what's going to occur, and we're asking that you strongly consider not approving the current proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Frances Parker. My family owns the properties at 924 and 928 Short Street, which directly abut the rear of their property abuts the land that you all want to rezone. So that is there's a residence located there, and putting that commercial business there when we don't even know what type of commercial business it may become in the future will be destructive to their quality of life. It serves to further marginalize those of us from a marginalized community. And we see that just by the very fact that we have to come and stand before a group of men, none of whom look like us, for a man who does not look like us, who wants to change the quality of life in a neighborhood that has been part of my life for almost 65 years now. We're opposed to that. We're opposed to you all approving any action that will destroy the quality of life of my family on Short Street.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Whalen. I'm a resident at Old Shandon and Waverly and Martin Luther King. And my question is, the applicant said that he's going to clear the area, but why do he have to rezone it if he's going to clear it? And the other question is that we can't go in another neighborhood. Say, if I wanted a business, can I go to Devereaux, Canterbury, and put a chain link fence across a public street and put a business there? I can't do that. So I don't think it's fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this?
Members of the board, I'm Jim Daniel. I'm a commercial real estate broker, and I've done some work in that area and trying to continue to do some. A couple of questions here. First of all, this building was used for years by Puglia Morris as their storage facility for their business. If you look at the map, at the end of Cherry Street, before it takes a left to Green, that property is owned by the city of Columbia. If you go down Green Street, at that corner, it's owned, another property is owned by the Columbia Housing Development Corporation. So the city also has some involvement in this area. Typically, when one of the issues that I know the neighborhoods have been fighting for years is the intrusion of commercial into the neighborhoods. Typically, it only goes one block deep. What we're looking at here, of course, is more than one block deep. So I think this would go against what I'm used to seeing the city normally approve, is commercial intrusion would only go a block in. And finally, you've got the historic Taylor Street Baptist Church, Taylor Memorial Baptist Church just to the left. And, you know, as the ladies have spoken, this is all part of the Lower Old Shandon, Lower Waverly Historic District. And I think at this point in time, unless there's a designated use for this property, I think rezoning is really premature. Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. It sounds like a lot of what we're hearing is zoning enforcement.
Yes, that's
This
correct.
issue could potentially exist independent of the zoning.
That's correct. So the zoning enforcement issues are completely separate from the rezoning request itself. So the rezoning request would alter the zoning of the property. But the zoning enforcement issues are currently being dealt with.
I guess my question is, under the current zoning on the front parcel, are those semi-trucks actually allowed there?
On the MU1, the one that's
Yeah.
already MU1, so there has been a violation issued for that already, and that's addressing that situation. But currently, that's, I believe the trucks, at least some of the trucks were sitting, my inspector went out there, so I'm not sure, but we're on the residential portion, which is not allowed. There, you know, you can't have trucks on the residential portion, obviously. The commercial portion, it gets a little, you know, sticky. Depends on the business. If there's a business there that has a commercial vehicle, potentially, but not as it stands, no, they are not allowed to be where they are.
Okay. And then I guess, building on that, I'm just wondering if we did approve this rezoning, then they could conceivably move further back, allowably?
I mean, if, it would depend on what businesses were approved to go into the building or any potential future buildings that were built there. So it would have to be part of a business. I'm not sure, any business allowed in MU1, you know, would be fair game there. And if any trucks were associated with that business, they would be allowed to be there potentially, but not just random, you know, 18-wheelers, so.
Right. And I think the applicant stated these aren't his trucks.
It's his tenant's truck.
Yeah.
It's your tenant, but the tenant is no longer a tenant?
His lease is
It's
about to
my
be up.
understanding, no, that the
Okay.
leases ended at the end of August.
Okay. Thank you.
I believe, in speaking with him earlier, the trucks were removed at some point and then were brought back. You could confirm with him, but I believe that was the case. That they were all gone at one point, and then recently they have come back. So that will be, you know, again, that's part of the enforcement process that our office is dealing with as well.
Sure. I've had that problem before. That's why I'm asking. Does anyone have any questions of staff? Any further questions for the applicant?
Are there currently any homes or structures on those three parcels that are being rezoned or asked to be rezoned?
On the ones requested to be rezoned?
Correct.
Any homes?
Correct.
Not to mine. Is there one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let them speak to that.
Would you mind coming up? Thank you.
Number one, you saw the sign that said Flex Services. They're renting that space as well. They're subleasing with individuals so they can park their vehicles on that lot. Number two, one of the complaints of residents is when they do park, they come in at 1, 2, and 3 in the morning. So when they bring those big diesel trucks through that small avenue, they're waking up everybody. So again, I would submit that if I place myself in the position of these folks who, I'm not sure, maybe the disregard is coming from the fact that some are not homeowners, I'm not sure. But whatever the bias is that potentially is there, they're totally disrupting the comfort, the peace that everybody would like to have in their community with those diesel trucks.
Ma'am, do you mind sharing which lot that is being proposed for rezoning has a home on it? So looking at as it's outlined on the map and the parcels on the tax map, there are 3 lots.
So let me proclaim my ignorance. So I'm speaking to a body of leaders who are making zoning decisions. That's not what I do. What I am is a homeowner who partners, works with, and supports members of my community. I drive by there, through there every single day. So when it's being said that these trucks are gone, they've never been gone. They've never been gone since the day they moved in. They're still there. The pictures I showed you were yesterday. There have been other moments when there have been 3, 4, 5 trucks, even larger than the one that you saw, including tankers in that small lot. How they get in there, I have no idea. But the disruption is of great magnitude. And that is what this community is addressing. To your question about how much of it, it's the whole thing. All it takes is just drive by once, and you'll see the invasion on your own. And that speaks to what I'm saying. I can't speak to you in your terminology, but I can tell you from the moment I turn down Stark and go through the back way to get to Millwood, all I see is fencing and green covering, trying to give a camouflage view that it's not there, but you can't get past it because it's everywhere. From the front to the back of Miss Green's house, all the way through the neighborhood. And I traveled all the way around to Millwood. And I drove up in the front lot of that building, and that's where I found the sign that said they're renting that space. So there's clearly some storage on one side of this particular building, and on the other side is the driveway, I think, that these big tankers drive into and park. But this gentleman knows far more than I about the size.
I guess to change the terminology, you all emphatically said that, yes, there was a house on a lot that he's proposing for rezoning.
The yellow house that you saw in my pictures is the house that the chain link fence, imagine it sits here, the house is right here. So they built that fence right alongside. And so for the record, my neighbor who lives in that house, when they give their birthday parties for their children, they have to contend with that fence.
Thank you.
If I could just clarify really quick about the fence. So there is a fence that is located, it's on, along Green Street. So, okay, so I guess you all can't see that on your iPads, but there are parcels fronting Green Street here. Those are not part of the request, the rezoning request. So I believe the fence that she's referring to is along Green Street. It's a fence with the green material within the slats, and that is also being handled as part of an enforcement action. But those lots are along Green Street here. Again, the lots have all been combined. They are all owned by the applicant. But those 2 lots are not included in the rezoning request, and they are where my pointer is right now.
But that fence also blocks off the continuation of Cherry Street, which blocks off a city street that runs behind the houses on Short Street. But the bigger issue is not just our opposition to this particular issue of the tankers and the truck. It's the opposition to the whole rezoning of our community, which has been a historically residential community. And so we are really opposed to it becoming a commercial area and removing our historical overlay and also removing some of our residential properties, which could now be destroyed, and that the historical significance of an African-American community that has been around since the beginning of this city, that we are opposed to, not just this particular company or this particular issue of the tanker trucks. It is the issue of the total rezoning of this particular part of our community that I am opposed to, and that I am here representing as president of the MLK Lower Waverly Neighborhood Association. We are opposed to having our community rezoned, period.
Thank you. Hold on, please. I've got two questions. No, sorry, for staff. Thank you. So when it looks like Cherry Street comes down past what looks paved,
So it's my understanding that Cherry Street has been absorbed during the lot combination process, when all of those lots were combined. At least where those parcels are, that part of Cherry Street has been absorbed into those parcels. So I'm not sure what the legal process, what occurred with that part of
okay.
that, but
And then the city's piece next to that, is that zoned R or M?
which,
It looks like coming down that road, there's another piece. Yep. Hold on just a second, sir. Thank you.
looks like the pointer's not working anymore, but so where are you referring to?
Where Cherry comes down and eventually turns to become green, if there's
The
a,
curve there?
Yep.
Yeah, where
that piece, do you know the zoning on the city piece?
so that's RM1,
That is RM, okay.
yes. So the brown there on the screen, that's the currently RM1 zoning.
Okay. If you've already spoken, I appreciate it. If you haven't, we'll entertain it, and then give the applicant a chance to rebut.
I haven't said anything. I
Yes,
just
sir.
got here.
Thank you.
My point is that I don't know how Cherry Street doesn't run into Green. Cherry goes behind Green. How in the world do they take city property and change it? That street, I've been there 73 years. I've been in that neighborhood. Cherry Street goes all the way down, and when it gets to Green, it goes behind that building. I don't even know how they put a building on that. That's the city property. How they put it?
Would you mind stating your name?
My name is Chesley Price. I apologize. I'm Chesley Price. I've lived in that community for 73 years. That's a street that runs behind. Cherry Street does not run into Green Street. Cherry Street runs behind Green Street. It stops at Green Street. So I don't know how that company got that property, because that property is city. That's a city street that runs where that company is. So we never knew how they got that company, how they blocked it off. It's a street.
Yeah.
And I'm opposed to it. I'm opposed to anything going in that community. I've been there all my life. So, like Vivian, I'm opposed to it.
Would the applicant like to speak on this anymore?
In regards to the property, the property was purchased with the 24/7 Millwood. And as was mentioned, there's 5 lots, 3 of which are within that blue area, which are to be rezoned. There's no houses in any of those lots. Again, to readdress the tenant, which I have not wanted there for months now, the tankers, they will be moved. I'm happy to show that. I'm happy to do it myself with my neighbor with the CDL to come and move the tankers. I think we all agree that's a terrible, we do not want those there at all in any way, shape, or form. As for future use, The only thing I can think about, besides clearing that out and mowing the lawn, is off the potential backside of that building, if we could add on at some point and do some like light offices or so, and that's it. So not trying to redo anything with the neighborhood, I'm trying to be, respectful of the neighborhood and the history there. I also went to USC in Columbia, and I've been here for a while, but that's the goal. I'm not trying to, change anything or, redo anything. That's really it. Get the tankers out. Their lease, again, has been terminated at the end of August. It has not been renewed. The city inspector, as part of the action, I gave him a certified letter that I sent to the tenants that said a 90-day notice, and again, I think it was 30 or 60-day notice where I said, your lease will not be renewed. So they're gone. They're right. The tankers there yesterday, I was there an hour ago. There's 2 red tractor trailer tankers there currently right now. That's correct. It's absolutely true. Again, if I've got to come and move it with a neighbor of mine that's got a CDL, I'll do it, and I'll show proof, and I want to show full respect to everybody here, and I respect everybody's opinion. So that's what I want to be known. So.
How long have you owned this property, I guess?
That was my question, too.
Last year.
Okay.
And how long have the tankers and tractor trailers been there in your year of owning it?
Those gentlemen had a 1-year lease, and I was not aware that to the extent that they were going to do that. And they've been a problem since day one, frankly. I've tried, you have a legal responsibility. You can't just evict somebody. They paid every single month. I started eviction process one time after day 5, rent's due on the 1st, it's late on the 5th. You can start, I did a certified mail letter to try to get them out. Then they paid the rent, so that stops the eviction process. So and working with the city with the infraction separate from this was, how do we get these gentlemen gone? And you legally can't do anything with them. You can't just throw them out. They have rights, right? But I've wanted them out for months. And I've told them, they've known about these infractions from the city for months. And, it's not as simple as just towing the car. They're big, unfortunately, they're big tractor trailers, so. But I'm happy to show everybody, that we're gonna move those. And they've since moved out most of their other stuff. There's 2 tractor trailers there. They've got 1 car hauler. I talked to the gentleman an hour ago. He was supposed to meet me there. He didn't show up. He says that's going to be gone tomorrow. We'll see. But the key is those big tractor trailers. So again, I'm prepared to, at my cost and my time, to get rid of those things because that's never been wanted there by anybody, myself included.
I had a question for staff. It's mentioned that all the previous separate lots, I think you said it was 5 of them, are now combined. Was there any type of zoning analysis or determination made prior to them being combined, or?
That was an administrative process, just to combine the lots. So, and that was actually done in, 5/24/22 was the date the plat was recorded. So that's an administrative process. So that was done prior to the submittal of the rezoning application.
So it's possible to combine parcels when the zonings don't,
Yes,
or are different?
yes. And again, even though it is combined, the 2 lots fronting Green Street they're not highlighted in blue up there because they're not part of the request. So there's 2 lots, and so the zoning line will not extend. If the rezoning were to be approved, it would not extend down to Green Street, the MU1. It would stop where those blue lines are.
But those blue lines are in the neighborhood, correct?
So part of the request is to remove the overlay from those lots as well. So they are currently in the overlay, yes. If you see on the map there, it shows that on I believe the hatched line is the neighborhood overlay line.
Okay.
The fact that they've gone across unopened Cherry Street and changed the zoning seems to go against past practice by the city of not rezoning for commercial use property that is more than one block from a major street. I represented the owner of a small lot at the corner of South Walkmore and Rosewood that was zoned years ago by the city as commercial. It was only 40 feet wide. We looked into trying to buy the house next door to get a decent commercial lot out of it, and we got nowhere because that was residential. This doesn't seem to be treating this location the same way they treated the one that I was dealing with. I mean, I don't see how the city could rezone the property across the street other than it's maybe contiguous, but you actually have a street there that's not open. It seems like to me that rezoning of the property on the right side of that street was improper to begin with.
Thank you. I think at this point, we've heard a lot of comments and are appreciative of everybody's concerns. And is there any discussion amongst commissioners?
This is something that's on regarding the Cherry Street. I've got a copy from the county, 2008, the plat was recorded with Cherry Street. This is what I was told by the city. Plat was recorded, Cherry Street, the parcel that is recorded and is not a through street anymore. I'd like to, I could submit this, but this is on the city record. So as of 2008, well before I owned the property, the plat was recorded Cherry Street. The parcel that is recorded is not a through street anymore. So that is recorded as well. So.
Thank you. You all need to see that?
Yeah, can I see that real quick, please?
There's a lot of discussion about about that parcel, the old Cherry Street right-of-way. And to clarify, before he combined the parcels, that parcel was a separate parcel with its own separate tax map number. So it was a parcel prior to him acquiring the property and combining it with all his other properties.
Thank you.
All right.
Everybody understand that? Any further discussion? I'm happy to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve ZMA 2022-0012.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
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 Can I do a roll call, please? For this one? Mr. Causey? Mr. Cohn?
No.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Harp,
No.
Ms. Thomas,
No.
and Mr. Tupper.
No.
The motion fails.
Do we,
We're just going,
Yeah. No, they just lump all the consent. Well, no. Once they move this one. Yeah, so we still got that one.
That's going to bring us to our next case, which is 14.4 acres, the southwest corner of Broad River Road and Piney Woods Road. And this is a request to, this 74-lot attached single-family subdivision was approved by the Planning Commission on October 4th, 2021. The Planning Commission granted approval of the site plan subject to compliance with staff comments, which included the construction of sidewalks along Piney Woods Road and a side path along Broad River Road. And the applicant is requesting that these two conditions be removed from the approval due to the request from the Harbison Group Design Development Review Commission in an effort to maintain the existing vegetated buffer along both roads. The property is located in the Harbison Planned Unit Development, and approval is required their approval is required prior to any land development activity. And if the commission is so inclined to grant this request, we would just ask that all of the conditions from the previous grant of approval remain except those two. And I believe the applicant is present, so he can explain the case.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Alan Hutto with Great Southern Homes. We're the developer of this parcel. As staff said, this came before y'all back in April and was approved, and we've got to go get approval from the Harbison Community Association, and they informed us that they did not like two things about it. One was the sidewalk and side path requirement, which would eat into that vegetative buffer, and additionally, there are no sidewalks within a mile of the property, so it would literally be a sidewalk to nowhere. So we agree with them about removing the requirement for the sidewalk and the side path. Additionally, I don't think staff mentioned this, but we're asking to remove the emergency entrance that was in the first site plan. Harbison Community Association had also requested we remove that, and we actually did some research, and that second entrance is not required. So we would request that you approve the removal of that in the site plan as well.
thank you. I think we also have a letter from the Harbison County Association specific to this. Everyone's had a chance to review it.
That's correct, and there's also an email from them in the packet. One point of clarification: the emergency access that is provided, on the previous comments, the fire marshal recommended approval of the site plan. The emergency access was shown on that site plan. However, they have also recommended approval without the emergency access being shown. So it's removed from the site plan, and it's really didn't need to be included as an amendment to the site plan, since the fire marshal, it's not required and the fire marshal has approved it.
Just for my purposes, to be clear, it's the same packet we've prior approved with just asking to take the exit and the sidewalks?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. At the request of the Harbison Group. And, the developer was willing to put in the sidewalks, but however, they ran into that with the Harbison Group, so that's why they requested it.
Does anyone have any questions for staff? or the applicant? Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against this? Not seeing any. Do we need to wait a little bit, or okay to entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Splat 2021-0088.
There's a motion on the table. Can we get a second?
Second.
Is that with staff comments?
Can you amend?
I'll amend my second with staff comments.
Motion with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. As there is no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn.